Welcome back. It's still Morning Rush on Metro Television, and this morning's conversation is going to be interesting. Infertility in male. I mean, according to statistics, if you take out 1 man out of 8, you get somebody who is infertile. And mostly they feel it's a female stuff, but then 30 to 40% of couples struggling to conceive is due to the male. Hey. Dr. SHERIF from Amen Scientific Herbal and Alternative Medical Hospital is here to help in this conversation. Doc, good morning and welcome.
Like, I don't know why you are, I don't know why you're excited. Is it because every time it's been like on the females?
Didn't you hear the second one I said? I said most often it's associated with females, but then it's 30 to 40% of couples struggling to conceive is due to infertility.
Please, I stand for my
Doc, is that true?
Yes, it's very true. And personally, I have experiences that I would want to share. I think 4 or 5 years down the line, I was handling a case like that, infertility case. You know, after thorough tests, scans, and all those things that needed to be done with the woman, after giving some treatment after some time, you know, I was satisfied that, oh, at this point, the woman should be able to conceive. Yeah. And you know what? This woman promised me if she's able to conceive, she's going to pay my trip to Belgium for a holiday. And, you know, I was worried. No, this thing, it has to, you know. So I invited the husband to, you know, actually come because we realized at that point the woman was okay to actually conceive. That this man should do a semen test for us. 5, 6 years down the line, I don't know if it's today that the man is going to bring the semen test. And as a result, I couldn't go to Belgium as a result of that man. And then in the second instance, this man came. Say, oh, dog, me, I'm busy. I deals in car. I go outside, buy cars. And if my wife, do whatever you can to make my wife, you know, conceive. And I'll buy you any car of your choice. The only thing you have to do is to pay duty. Those times, duty wasn't that expensive. And the man was emphatic. Do whatever you can. Whatever you can. Me, I'm busy. When I come 2 weeks, I go back. And it was until later that I realized that the man was, you know, speaking in parables, that I should do whatever I can because the same incident happened to this man. He should give us a semen
and he didn't
test, and he never returned to the facility. So it is it's an issue that a lot of times in our setting when we talk about it, we only focus the attention to women. That we feel women are the people who only conceive. No, but you know, research, just as you mentioned, has shown that even majority of the cases when it comes to infertility within couples are related to the male.
But do they know?
I would say yes and no, because some of them are fully aware of their situation. Some of them, they are not aware, due to the fact that, you know, for a man, if you are able to, for example, say you are sexually active and you last long in bed, there's this notion, there's this perception that, me, I'm strong, you know, I'm strong in bed, and you know, can't you see what I do to you, you know, when we are in bed and all the when we're having sex and all that. So they feel they are okay, you understand? So some of them are fully aware, probably they've done some tests some way, somehow, and they've been told that this is the situation. But because of, you know, men are naturally egoistic, you understand? So they wouldn't want their wives or their spouses to know. And some of them, they are not aware of the situation. Okay.
So naturally, as a man, how have we been programmed, or as men, how have we been programmed to be able to give fertile semen that will be able to fertilize an egg from a woman? And then what goes wrong that it will become infantile in that sense?
Okay, so when you look at the process of what goes into, you know, fertility in men. You know, sperm production itself happens within the testis, the scrotum. Okay. And within the scrotum is where we have the testis, the two balls in the scrotum, that sac, you know, outside the body. Now, there's a space called interstitial cells of Leydig where sperm productions are done. You understand? So it goes on every day. The production of sperms goes on every day. Now, if sperms are produced within the testis, on top of the testis, there's this organ called epididymis. They are saved there, and you know, during, you know, sexual encounter, these sperm cells are supposed to move through what we call vas deferens, and then they join the ejaculatory duct behind the bladder, and that is when they are released through the urethra, you know, during ejaculation. So that is, this process is supposed to, you know, goes on every day within every man. And it is being regulated by specific hormones within the body, testosterone and all those things. And in per every ejaculate for every normal man, you're supposed to produce at least 15 to 100 million sperm cells. Per every, so when you have sex with your wife or your spouse and you ejaculate, the number of sperms that is supposed to come out per every ejaculate is supposed to range between 15 to 100 million sperm cells. So if you per every ejaculate, your sperm count is less than 15 to 100 million, it means that you're having a condition called oligospermia. That is when the count, what we usually say low sperm count. So any man who have this issue of low sperm count, when your count is low than the normal, your chances of getting someone pregnant is low. It's low. Or you can't get someone pregnant. Then apart from that, there are people who have these low sperm count. Most men out there have these low sperm count. Apart from that, the morphology of how these sperm cells are supposed to look also plays very important role in how a man will be able to get a woman pregnant. Because when you look at the sperm cell, they look like a tadpole, concuntiba, with a bigger head and a tail. Now, if you introduce sperms into a woman's, you know, vagina, they're supposed to move. You're supposed to move from the vagina through the uterus up to the fallopian tubes where fertilization takes place. So their morphology, they should have a head and they should have a tail that will propel their movement. So it is the tail that propels their movement.
As we've known, they swim.
You get it. That will help them to swim. So in some cases, you see some men producing sperms without tails. You see some men producing sperms without head. You see some men producing sperm with two heads, with two tails and all these things. So all these morphological defects within the sperm cells could affect your chances of getting a woman pregnant. And then again, their movement. So they say life is a struggle. The struggle begins at this stage. Because mind you, this 15 to 100 million sperm cells, it is only one that will get a chance to fertilize the ovum. You understand? So it's a struggle. So you see, this is more struggle than the one that we see in real life, because 100 million, you know, cells, and we need only one. So you have to be very strong, to be very mobile. So your motility is very key. So there are some men who produce sperms and they can't move. So if they are introduced into the vagina, they stay there and they die off. They can't move up to go and fertilize the eggs of the woman. So in that case, it can affect your chances of getting a woman pregnant. There are situations where some men don't even produce nothing, like zero sperm count, zero sperm count, zero. So you see the fluid coming out, but there's no sperm cell in it. And it happens to a lot of men. So the fluid that you are seeing is just seminal fluid with prostatic fluid that you are seeing. So it can also happen that way. There are situations where what we call anejaculation. That is, there's either blockade within the ejaculatory duct or through the vas deferens, all these structures from the scrotum up to, you know, where you're supposed to ejaculate. When there's any blockade within any of these ducts, it could also affect your chances of what? Of getting a woman pregnant. And there are situations where we have what we call retrograde ejaculation, that the man's sperms that is supposed to come out actually ends up in the urinary bladder. Oh. And it happens to some men.
Okay. That's serious.
So yes. this breakdown is...
it's more clear now. But Doc, the sort of like the hormones that really assist or aid in producing the sperms.
Yes.
If those hormones are not working in full capacity, it means that the sperms are not going to come.
Yes.
So then what can ignite that particular hormone? What do you do that keeps it at its lower energy, and what can you do to boost it so that it can work effectively? Okay,
so yes, so the hormonal imbalances that we talk about, you know, a lot of times, there are genetical issues that can, you know, actually cause affect your, you know, your hormones. There are situations where you have problem with your pituitary gland, you understand, because that is where the genesis of all these things happens. Because from the pituitary, where the follicle stimulating will aid, you know, production of testosterone and all those things. So when you're having these problems, it could also affect, you know, your sperm production. And then also, there are even some medications that we take.
Okay.
You understand? To treat some some, you know, medical condition within the system.
But it can affect it.
That can, you know, affect, you know, your sperm production. There's this condition called mumps. You know, when you are young, you see your jaw will swell up. You know, usually when we're young, they will put some clay on it. You know, any man who suffers this condition has a tendency of having issues with his sperms when they grow up. There are situations where when you smoke, when you drink alcohol, you know, when you even expose your what do you call it?
Genital area.
Yes, the genital area to excessive heat. It could also affect the quality of sperms that you produce. There's a condition called varicocele that will cause a swollen blood vessels within your genital area, which would affect the temperature. Because the reason why the testis is outside the body is the temperatures there are lower than our body temperatures. So the moment the temperatures starts going high, so when there's any infection, you know, whatsoever that affects these spaces, the temperature within these spaces, it could also affect the sperms that
as we wrap up on this, how do we rectify? Can it be rectified in first place? Because you see a lot of ads about drink this, you know, the men who do not want to come to the hospital due to, you know, the tax that will be given to them, will go and buy some things at the pharmacy or even on social media. Those things, do they work? And what is the right way to rectify this?
Yes, so the right way to rectify this problem is, you know, if you're a man and you're having any of these challenges, first and foremost, we need to identify the cause of your problem. You understand? Okay. What is causing your infertility? Because just the things that we've mentioned here, even today, tells that there are different causes of this condition. So we need to identify the cause in the first place. Then we treat the underlying problem, if it has to do with your hormones, if it has to do with blockade, because usually with blockade and all those things, it's through surgical intervention to correct these patencies for easy flow of, you know, and all that. But then those with medical, you know, causes, because of course, when you come to Amen Scientific about an alternative medical hospital, for example, we've had cases that men who had zero sperm count, azoospermia, zero. Within, you know, a short possible time, we're able to help them, and naturally they were able to get their wives pregnant. So if you're a man and you're having issue with fertility, I will urge you to come to Amen Scientific about an alternative medical hospital, because we have one of the best treatment, you know, regimes for some of these cases.
Okay.
And if you're a couple and you're having challenges with fertility, don't just blame the women, because women are also at fault.
We are also at fault too, so please put your ego aside.
Yeah,
and just walk into Army Scientific.
Yes,
and let them help you out.
Our time is fast. I can't ask the questions that I can. Maybe next week we'll push it to next week and then we'll ask it.
We'll ask the question.
Is
it the women or the
men next?
Anyway, so make sure that you go to Army Scientific. You can call the numbers on the screen, and so they can assist you or help you out with your situation, especially infertility in males. Charlie, be easy like that, but we forgo, right?
Yes, so and next week we'll open the phone lines. Yes, so it's going to be interesting. Yeah.
All right, so go to Army Scientific locations in Accra, Dome.
Yes, Dome at Dome Senate Flats, close to the rail line, and Lashibi Klagon, close to the Ashamai Underbridge.
Yes.
And all over Ghana, Takrady, Kumasi, Ho, Tamale. Just call the numbers on the screen and we'll direct you to the nearest Army Scientific about an alternative medical hospital.
All right. Look, thank you so much for coming in this morning.
It's always a pleasure to be here.